And we are live once again. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I cannot believe it is time for our second DYW Moray Let's Talk Careers to Primary School Kids event. We have another amazing panel lined up for you, but right from the off, I'm going to give a shout out to a few schools. I love the fact that we've had some of you tuning in. I say tuning in, logging in from like over an hour ago. But we've got a few of you in here: Portnocky Primary, Keith Primary, Craigellachie, Morlock, West End, Clooney, Seafield, Newmilk, Kinloss, Dallas, East End. There's loads of you. There's loads of you already tuned in. A massive thank you for everybody taking the time out of their afternoon. We've got a hello coming in from Port Gordon and Aberlour, P567 at Port Gordon and P56 Aberlour. My name is Gavin Oates. For those of you who were not part of the session 2 days ago, I am on hosting duties. I'm a business owner. I am an author, a stand-up comedian, and basically my job is to talk. That's what I do for a living. So I'm also technically part of the panel today. So when you're chucking questions in, if you've got any questions for me about running a business, being a stand-up comedian, a writer, a performer, I also used to be a primary school teacher for many, many years. Well, not many years, but 6 or 7 years, but it seemed like many, many years. So you can ask me questions about that as well. Now, I've given a few schools a wee shout out already, but just so you all know, we're going to be on for about 40 minutes, okay? And basically, we're going to bring on some amazing local employers, and we've got a great panel for you. There's been one or two little changes. Somebody wasn't very well. There's been a couple of technical issues, but we've got a great panel for you, all right, who I'll introduce in a minute. And they're going to tell you about some different jobs, industries. They're going to talk about some of the employability skills that they need and that they've come across in their career. Now, many of you have already sent in loads of questions. Like, we've got like 1 million questions. But you can also chuck live questions into the chat on the right-hand side. So please, 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 I say the right-hand side. It's the right-hand side for me. You do it in the comments. Please chuck in as many questions as you want for any one of our panelists. Ideally, questions about their jobs. You know, if you want to say things like, what's your favourite colour and do you like tomatoes? Well, you can ask those questions as well. I'm always happy to answer those ones for you. But we will try and get through as many of the questions as we can. We're not going to get through them all because there's like already 1 million, but we'll do our best. For anybody following on any of the social media side of things, remember the hashtag is no wrong path, because really that's what this is about. It's about it's about careers and how there is, well, literally no wrong path. Some people leave school and go straight into a job. Some people get apprenticeships. Some people go to college. Some people go to university. Some go into training, volunteering. Some people take a gap year. Some people go traveling. And then there's so many of us out there change our jobs lots throughout life. And we'll find out a wee bit more about the journeys of our guests shortly and the different routes that they've taken to where they are now. And is there actually any other jobs out there that they would like to be doing instead? Maybe their journey's not quite finished. And as I said on Tuesday, there's some of us out there still trying to work out what we want to be when we grow up. And that includes me. So I set you a few challenges on Tuesday. Some of you that were here will remember, just to get the brain switched on. And I'm going to try a couple others with you right now. Okay, so the first thing I need you all to do is put your hands like this. Okay, so this is a little bit different from what we did the other day. Now I'm going to turn side on. You don't have to do this, but it's just so that you can see. And I want one hand going forward in a circular motion, right? That's all I need you to do. One hand going forward, but then I need your other hand and arm going backwards. One going forwards and one going backwards, right? That's what I need you to do. Now, I saw brilliant photos on Twitter of many of you doing these or the other little exercises on Tuesday. So have a look around your classroom, look at each other's faces. You'll see the concentration faces on. Some of you, your hands will be going the same way and you'll think you've got it and you'll be saying to your pals, I've got it. And actually you haven't, but it's getting the brain switched on. So let's stop that one now. I'm going to quickly try another one, okay? For this one, if you can I ask you to stand? Okay, so my apologies to the teachers now for all the rammy that's going on in your classes. But if you can all stand for me, that would be amazing. Now, I can't stand right now because then you won't be able to see me because of the size of this little box. Right, so the first thing I need you to do is put one hand in the air. And I need you to draw the figure of 8. Okay, that's all I need you to do. And then with your opposite leg, So if you're using your right hand, use your left leg. I want you, okay? I want you to make that leg go in a circle, okay? So one leg is off the ground, and it's the one that's off the ground is going in a circle, but I want you to keep drawing the figure of 8. Now, I want you to tell me, or I want you to drop in the comments, are you managing to keep your leg going in a circle, or is your leg now doing what your hand's doing? All righty. If you've done that one, then you're a ninja. Like, you're an absolute ninja with your hand-eye coordination. So, now that the brains are switched on, now that we've got a bit of energy going, you can all sit back down, and it is time to introduce our guests. So remember, you can keep the comments coming in. There's a couple more have come in from, is it Findopty Primary? We've got New Elgin Primary, and a big hello to P4 to 7 at St. Thomas. So now, there's Anderson Primary saying, haha, nope. In other words, you didn't manage it, but it's a tough one. It takes a wee bit of practice. We've now got Morlick telling us that they're all ninjas. Whatever. Right, okay, good one. Right, it is now time to welcome our guests. So first up today, we have Lauren Wright. So if we can all welcome Lauren Wright to the screen. Lauren, how are we doing? Listen, thank you so much for joining us. You are, correct me if I'm wrong, a partner at Harper McLeod, based in Elgin. Is that right?
Yes, that was right, yeah.
Tell us who Harper McLeod are. What do you do?
So Harper McLeod is a very big legal organisation that does different types of law, conveyancing, buying and selling houses, banking, family matters, dealing with wills and estates when someone passes away, all kinds of stuff.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Now, there's loads of questions for you, but we'll get to them in a little while. But next up, we have Corporal Craig Rankin from the RAF, from the Armed Forces Career Office, I believe, Craig. Now, Craig, a big, big welcome. We should probably explain to all the boys and girls right now that you do not have a webcam on the go today, but can we just double check? You can definitely hear us, Craig.
I can definitely hear you, Gavin.
Brilliant. So, Craig, you are from the Royal Air Force, and you're based in the Armed Forces Career Office. Tell us just briefly, what is that?
So, the Armed Forces Careers Office, so we deal with the recruitment for the RAF. So, we work alongside both the Royal Navy and the Army.
Brilliant. Amazing. Again, Craig, there's tons of questions already for you. But next up, I would like to welcome to the screen Jackie Andrews. Now, Jackie, a big welcome to you. I think I'm right in saying you're the head of academic partnerships at Moray College. Firstly, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Gavin.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining us. Jackie, tell us a wee bit about your role at the college.
Okay, my role at the college is to make sure that we work very closely with all our partners, including all of the teachers who are here today and all the teachers in secondary schools, to make sure that young people know what opportunities are available for them when they leave school, whether they want to come to college, or because we're part of the University of the Highland Islands, they want to come to university, or if they want to join and have an apprenticeship, and then they would come to see us as well.
Amazing. Right. Can't wait to pick your brains a wee bit more shortly. And last but not least, of course, we have John Cairns. So a big welcome to John to the screen. John, how are we doing today?
Afternoon, Gavin. I'm well, thank you.
Amazing. Now, John, you work for Balfour Beatty. Am I right in saying you're a community benefits advisor?
Yes, that's right. So Balfour Beatty are the biggest construction company in the UK. So think large, exciting projects, building bridges, building towers, building schools, hospitals, tunnels. The list goes on.
Amazing. They're a huge organisation. I've done a wee bit of work with some of your colleagues before. A fascinating place to work. Again, we're going to find out a wee bit more as we go, John. So we've already got questions coming in for everybody. The very first question that came in was from Mrs. Chambers. Actually, this one's for me. I'll answer it super quick. Gavin, what is the favourite job you've ever had? I've loved every job I've ever had, genuinely. Whether that was being a primary school teacher, stand-up comedian, or author, they're technically all the exact same thing. Being a business owner, of course, I love. But if I had to pick one, I'm going to say being a stand-up comedian and getting to travel the world, go on stage and be really, really silly and get paid to do it. That was definitely great fun, and I still get to do that a wee bit now and then. Right, first question we've got, though, is for Craig in the RAF. Craig, the first question, it's also from Mrs. Chambers. Craig, do you need to be brave to be in the RAF?
Yeah, I would say you need an element of bravery, certainly.
Brilliant. Okay, and I think, I don't know if everybody would agree. I think you have to be brave in any job. I think it doesn't matter what you do. You need a bit of courage, a bit of bravery, a bit of energy in order to be able to go and do anything at all. Now, I've got a wee question here, actually, that's just popped in for you, Lauren, and it's from Tom and Toole Primary School. What skills do you need to work in a business role?
I think the biggest skill that you need to have is to be able to listen and be good at communicating with other people as well.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think, communication is definitely one of those key skills. Again, in every role that we ever do, it's so important to be able to, well, the first thing Lauren said was listen. It's such a wonderful skill that, when we talk about communication a lot of people think it's just how we talk to each other, but it's how we listen. And it's not just listening, it's actively listening and making sure that you're hearing what the people around you and your team are saying to you and so on. Okay, cool. I'm gonna move on to Jackie. Jackie, so you work in the college. Have you ever had any other jobs?
I have.
Tell us about them.
Well, before I came to work in the college, and I've worked in the college for 30-something years, so it was a long time. But before I came to work in the college, I was a secretary. And I worked as a secretary in a brewery for Scottish and Newcastle breweries. So that was a really good job.
Cool. So there's been a wee bit of a journey there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it.
And when I left to being a secretary, I came to be a teacher of secretarial studies.
Ah, cool. Okay. Nice one. Right. Thank you for that. Right. Okay, John, I want you just to tell us a wee bit more about your role, but the question that's come in from Craig, age 10 at Logie Primary, is did you have to go to university to do your job?
Not that I personally did go to university. I ended up studying politics. But you don't necessarily need to go to university to do my job. My role now, I do a lot of communications and marketing. So I do a lot of social media posting, updating e-newsletters, video on our sites and creating progress videos. So I do a lot of sharing about what's going on our project, what we're building. I share the information with the local community. And it's
brilliant. Right, and we've got a bell going in the background, so it's really it's okay. It's just, we just wanted it to feel like school even more than it does. So John, I'm glad you answered that question there, because actually Dylan from P7 in East End Primary was wanting to know what you do in your role, but he also wants to know, did you start off in this role at Balfour Beatty?
No, I joined Balfour Beatty about 4 years ago. So I used to manage apprenticeship programmes within a local authority in Aberdeen. So that's always been a passion of mine, is talking to young people about future career pathways, talking about apprenticeships, and just talking about the next steps after school. So I still do that in my current jobs.
Yeah, cool. I love it. Jackie, we've got a question that's just come in from Ruby. How is it to work at the college?
It's a great place to work in the college because you get to meet lots and lots of different people every year. So we have lots of students who come and we meet loads of people, and it's a really good opportunity to make lots of friends and to help people to decide what they want to do, the next stage, or what path they then want to take when they leave college. So it's a great place to work.
Fab. Thank you for that. Now, there's a question for all of you that actually quite a few schools have sent in, and that is, what inspired you all to do what you're now doing? So, Craig, I'm going to come to you first in the RAF. What inspired you to join the RAF?
Well, I was really looking for a job where I would get to travel the world and make some lifelong friends, and that's exactly what the job is. So it has lived up to my expectations.
That's good to hear. And is it taking you all over the world, Craig?
Yeah, I've been all over. So in the 14 years that I've been in, I've worked all over the world. So the Middle East, I've worked in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Cyprus, and as far south as the Falkland Islands.
Brilliant. What's your favourite place been that you've been based at?
Oh, that's a tough question. That's a tough. I would say Abu Dhabi, certainly.
Abu Dhabi,
Yeah.
Brilliant. Never been there. One day. So, Lauren, in the sort of business and professional service world, what inspired you to go into the work that you do?
Okay, so don't laugh, but what inspired me to do law was the film Legally Blonde.
Yes. Yes, it's a classic. And if you've not seen it, kids, get it watched. Bend and snap. Right, keep going.
So yeah, it wasn't just that. I wanted to do something that tested every skill that I had, all my patience, all my intellect. Just wanted to just do something that required a lot of work, a lot of thought, and so I thought law would be ideal, and it was.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. John, what about yourself?
I got inspired to join Balfour Beatty. I saw at Balfour Beatty were building a large road network around Aberdeen called AWPR. I saw the investment that was being made in that project. I saw it being constructed, and that just kind of sparked a passion in learning more about what are the careers in construction. So that was 4 years ago, and then that made me want to jump into the industry. And
Claire's asking, John, what's been your favourite construction job?
I love working on school projects. We've built new high schools in Aberdeen. We're building Lossiemouth High School at the minute. They're my favourite projects because I get to go out and interact with school pupils, run different kind of inspiration activities as well. So being involved in building schools.
Yeah, love it. And Jackie, what inspired you to join the college?
Well, I came to join the college actually when I left Edinburgh, because I lived in Edinburgh. And when my husband came to work in Moray, I came with him and I didn't have a job. So I walked round and round and round Moray looking for a job and delivered my CV to lots and lots of offices. And then I was talking to this gentleman and he said, "Oh, have you ever thought about teaching?" And I said, "No, never thought about that." And he said, "Well, I think you should." So he went, I was actually sitting in the college and I went away and he got one of the lecturers in business and professional studies to come and speak to me. And here I am.
Brilliant. Love it. And Craig, there's a couple of questions have come in from different schools actually asking if you have been involved in any conflicts in your time in the RAF.
No, I have not actually. I've not been involved in any conflicts.
Cool.
So...
No, that's fine. Lauren, a couple of folks are asking, well, there's a couple of questions here I'll chuck at you at the same time. Was your journey to becoming a lawyer hard? That's from Charlie in P7 at St. Sylvester. And then also from Charlie, how long were you in college or university?
Yes, it was hard. It's a really tough degree to do, but it's worth it. I was 4 years at university and then a year doing a diploma also at university. So 5 years in total.
Cool. So a tough 5 years, would you say? Just for everyone listening, out of 10, 10 being super hard, where would you say?
8 and a half.
8. That's pretty hard going. We'll let you off. Brilliant. Actually, just sticking with you for a second, Lauren. Olivia in P7 at Anderson's Primary wants to know, how do you defend someone who's clearly guilty?
Oh, it's interesting. I don't actually do court work myself, but if you know that if your client has told you that they're guilty, then you can't stand up in court and say that they're not guilty. You either have to say that they're guilty in front of the judge, or you have to pass them on to another solicitor because you can't continue to act.
Okay, cool. Right. We've got a question here for Jackie. This is from P7 East End Primary School, Jackie. If someone wanted to finish secondary school before 6th year, can they still go to college? And how young can you start at the college?
Oh, wow. Well, yes, the answer, yes, you can. You can come to college from fourth year. Well, you finish fourth year at school, and then you could come for your fifth year and your sixth year. So you could leave school at the end of fourth year and come to college then. So yes, but we actually have something like 450 school pupils in college every single Wednesday. So we have about 450 S4s to S6s who come to college on a Wednesday, and they come as part of college and part of school. So they're still school pupils, but they just come to us and do some of their learning.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Jackie. Lauren, there's a few questions here. People saying, what type of law do you practice?
I do buying and selling houses for people. I make wills for people. So deciding what they want to do with anything that they have once they die. And then once they have died, I help to tie up their estate and deal with that.
Magic. Craig, we have a question from Tom and Tool Primary. What skills do you need to fly a jet?
Sorry, Gavin, could you repeat that, please?
I certainly can. What skills do you need to fly a jet?
Oh, that's a great question. So skills that you would need to fly a jet would certainly be confidence, be able to multitask, time management, problem solving, and adaptability.
Amazing.
Things will be
Amazing.
changing constantly round about you.
So if I'm reading between the lines there, folks, what Craig's saying is you need all the skills in the world to fly a jet. Now, I've got a question here from Sam. Sam would like to know, would you recommend being a stand-up comedian? Well, I can tell you, Sam, I do, but it's really, really tough. Like any job, you have to work so hard and you have to put yourself out there and always be traveling, always be writing. And it can be nerve-wracking as well. You know, you have to get up on stage and you have to go through the tough gigs and the hard gigs and the rubbish gigs. You know, I remember at the age of only 17 when I took up stand-up comedy. I remember traveling around the country at 17 years of age, not knowing what I was doing, put myself on stage with things that I'd written that I thought were really funny, and people all just sitting there going, nah, get off, who's next? And it's heartbreaking. But then you start to learn, you get better, like everything. You know, and actually all the skills that Craig was talking about there about flying a jet. Now, okay, maybe not all the same skills, but a lot of the things have been mentioned already today, like communication, you know, and being able to be organized, make sure your timing's great. So, yeah, do you know, I do recommend being a stand-up comedian, but only if you're up for working really, really hard. So, yeah, great question, though. Thank you for that one. So I've got Lauren, what's the favourite part of your job? This is from P7 in West End. And did you want to do anything else other than your current career?
The favourite part of my job is talking to different people, and not just about what work they want me to do, but just finding out about different people and just chatting to them. I don't know if I really did want to do anything else. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I just ended up kind of doing law, and it just got me where I am, but I was never sure what I wanted to do.
Cool. John, in fact, we'll open this up to everyone. If you weren't doing what you were doing now, what would the dream job be?
I was always, dream job would have been footballer when I left school. At one stage, I wanted to be a football journalist. If I couldn't do football, I wanted to write about football, but yeah, now I'm still involved in comms and marketing and stuff, so I still get to write reports but that would have been my absolute dream job.
Cool, no, I love it. Jackie, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, Jackie, did you say you've been at the college? Did you say 30 years? I mean, that's a shift, Jackie. That is a shift. So, so if you weren't at the college though, Jackie, and you've already shared a wee bit of your journey from 30 years ago, what would you be doing?
Well, I studied languages when I left school. So my dream job would be I always wanted to work in the European Parliament. So that's what I wanted to do.
Amazing. Right. No, thank you for sharing that. Craig, what about you? If it wasn't the RAF, what would you be doing?
I think I would like to be a policeman, certainly a detective. something that I find really interesting. So yeah, probably that.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Now, John, there's actually quite a few people have been pinging in some questions about what is, well, there's a lot of people still asking about the biggest project you've ever worked on. Oh, you're on. Yep, go for it. Sorry.
Personally, the biggest project I've been part of is a school in Aberdeen that had a capacity of 1,200 pupils. But Balfour Beatty are delivering a project called High Speed Network 2 down in England, which is the biggest infrastructure project on the go in the UK at the minute. It's worth over £1 billion, and it's been delivered over 10 years. So there's some huge projects across the UK, but in Scotland it tends to be schools are usually the biggest projects that we deliver.
Brilliant. Right, I've got a question for all of you, and I'm going to start with you, Lauren. And the question is, what is the best or most useful feedback you've ever had? Okay, now, just before you answer that, there's a second part to this question, and it is, Gavin, do you have a dog? That's my favourite question so far. Gavin, do you have a dog? I don't have a dog, I'm afraid. I have two cats. One's called David Bowie, and one's called Paul Stanley. You can Google those names and find out who they are. Right, so Lauren, the question was the best or most useful feedback you've ever had.
So for me, it's what I always say to people now as well. But people have said to me in the past that it doesn't matter if you don't know what you want to do. There's no right or wrong answer or age that you need to know what you need to do by. Just if you don't know, you don't know, and you will end up wherever you need to be.
Brilliant. Do you know, I think that's a really important piece of advice for everybody listening today. And you'll notice along the screen, the hashtag of No Wrong Path has appeared. And Lauren's absolutely right. The truth is, kids, there's no adults that really truly know what they're doing. They'll pretend that they do, but the honest is we're all just making it up as we go. And as Lauren says, you'll end up where you're meant to be. And, you know, if everyone just stays super kind and works hard, and it always tends to work out. So, Craig, what about yourself? The best or most useful feedback that you've ever had?
The most useful feedback I've ever had is to always sort of believe in yourself and be confident. And I think that's a great thing for whatever you're doing in life.
Yeah, no, that's a great shout. Jackie?
It's just taking the words right out of my mouth. One of my bosses a long time ago said to me, Jackie, you need to believe in yourself and have confidence. And that's exactly what you have to do.
Yeah, we're all amazing. All of us, every single one of you out there is absolutely amazing. And, you know, that's a great piece of advice from Craig and Jackie. John, what would you say is the best and most useful feedback that you've ever had?
Just work hard, try your best. I always believe that hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. So, yeah, just give it 100%.
Great words, John. Thank you for sharing that. There's another one just popped in here from Primary 5, from Nicole. Would like to ask Gavin, what is the hardest job he's had? Running a business with 26 employees, which is not a huge company, but that is the hardest job I've ever had. Running a business. You know, somebody once said to me, Gavin, if you're going to set up your own business and run a business, you have to remember there is no end point. In other words, it doesn't stop. You're always thinking about it. You know, weekends, evenings, there's always something to be done. However, not only has it been the hardest thing I've ever done, I love it. I absolutely love it. I love the challenge every day of managing people, leading people, helping people, supporting people, making sure that the business is surviving. And of course, 2020 has been a real challenge. My business revolves around big rooms full of people. Whether that's big conferences, whether it's schools, working with young people. We do a huge amount. In fact, some of you have worked with our business, Tree of Knowledge. I talk at huge, big events for businesses all over the world. So this year, we had to make some really difficult decisions. We had to completely rethink how we work. We had to reimagine what it was that we were doing. We had to be brave. We had to take some risks. And it wasn't fun at this, you know, March, April, May. It was really difficult. But we stuck to it. We worked hard. We've turned some corners, and you know, things are on the up again. So yeah, one of the hardest things has definitely been running a business. So let me just look at the live questions coming in. So we've got for Jackie from Vicky in Primary 7. Do you need patience with the kids, it says.
Yep, you definitely need to have patience. You definitely need to have patience. But the good things, I noticed a question earlier on which asked, is it harder to be a teacher in college than it is to be in primary or secondary? And I have to say that when people come to college, they usually come because they want to come. So the answer to that question probably would be that, yeah, we maybe get it a wee bit easier.
Yeah, okay.
Not a lot,
yeah, good answer. Be interesting to get the primary teachers' take on that. Feel free to chuck your comments in, teachers. There's a message from Havana P7 at Port Gordon. Gavin, are your shelves behind you real? Well, no, they're not. This is wallpaper, like actual wallpaper in my house. But it looks quite real, doesn't it, Havana? So that's a great question. Okay, John, has anything ever gone wrong when Balfour Beatty have been building something? And that's from Charlie in P7.
Yeah, but things can go wrong. Sometimes it's because of things that are out with your control. Obviously, working outside, where the weather can sometimes have a big impact. So if there's been a lot of rain or a lot of snow, then that means often we have to stop working.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sometimes things go wrong, but there's not a lot you can do about it.
Cool. Lauren, when did you start your job? This is from Claire. And have you always worked with... Sorry, it's from Leah. It's been put in by Claire, but it's Leah that's asking the question. Lauren, when did you start your job, and have you always worked with Harper McLeod?
I started here in 2011 as a trainee when I left university. And this firm was called Winkin McKenzie at the time, and it was just an independent firm in Elgin. And we merged with Harper McLeod last year. So we joined up with Harper McLeod. So we became part of them. And they've got offices in Edinburgh, Glasgow, Inverness, and up in Shetland as well.
Brilliant, thank you. And a wee question for Craig, actually. In terms of the RAF, Craig, do you get... Now, I'm kind of mixing a whole bunch of questions together here. Do you get on-the-job training? Do you have to go to college or university to get into the RAF?
So we get on-the-job training. So depending on what role you'd like to do, there's specific training for that role.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. So, John, did you go to university?
Yeah, down in Glasgow.
Down in Glasgow. And how many years were you in university for?
4 years. But on reflection, like when I left university, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do after I left school or after I left university. So it takes a while sometimes to figure out what direction you want to go in.
Okay, yeah. No, it does. And as I mentioned earlier, some of us are still trying to work it out. There's always new things happening in the world, and it changes our thinking. And it doesn't matter what age we are. Sometimes we start to think about maybe a wee change and trying something else. So in terms of, I've got one for all of you here, okay? And actually, this has been asked a few times today, and it was asked on Tuesday in the other session as well. And the question is, has coronavirus changed how you work? Now, can we start with Jackie in the college, please? Tell us how things have changed at Moray College with regards to the coronavirus.
Wow, coronavirus has really changed what we do. So I'm sitting here in my spare bedroom and with my new notice board on the wall, and I've been here since March. So I am now working from home, and most of our students are also working from home. So where normally our building would be full of people, just like your school, unfortunately, we're not allowed to take our students into the building. So the majority, nearly all of our students are working at home, at their kitchen table or in their bedrooms, and trying to do their studying from home. And the only ones who are in college are the ones who need to be there. So, for example, if you want to be a bricklayer, you kind of need bricks. So they've got to go into college and use the bricks. And if you want to be a hairdresser, you've got to have a haircut. So they're in the college as well. But the college is a really, really quiet place at the moment. So coronavirus has really affected us. It's very difficult. So everything crossed that we'll be back soon.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Craig, what about the RAF? How's it affected things for you and your colleagues?
Certainly in the recruitment world, it's affected us because we haven't been allowed to have anybody in the office to take sort of general inquiries for any recruitment queries or any questions that people might have about certain roles. So we've had to sort of switch to telephone appointments, and when we're conducting interviews, we've moved to doing them over Skype rather than face to face. So certainly in the recruitment world, it has had quite an impact on us.
Yeah, cool. All right, Lauren, how's it affected things at Harper McLeod?
It's the same as Jackie. The office is very quiet now. I work from the office, but a lot of people have to work from home. We can't see clients face to face anymore. We've got to speak to them over video calls. And if I need to see people, if I have to see clients to sign documents, I have to see them outside in the car park, and it's really cold. And if it's raining, my hair gets wet. So it has affected us.
And what about John? I'd imagine there's been some changes, but how has it affected Balfour Beatty?
Yeah, I obviously had a huge impact. Our sites were closed for the best part of 2 months. All the construction sites are now operating with increased health and safety procedures, but all supporting staff like myself, I'm not on sites as often as I used to be. More remote working, more video calls, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, just to connect with people up and down the country. So less travelling, but more video calls.
Yeah, no, it's the same for me. I mean, I mentioned earlier, my whole life has been traveling. You know, I travel. I'm always on stages at events, and you know, all of a sudden, I don't leave my house now. But I can do 3, 4, 5 different events a day now, whereas maybe I could just do one because most of my day was on a plane or in a train or on a car. But now, do you know what the absolute highlight, though, to everyone listening for me this year is that I now get to walk my daughter to school every single day. I've never been able to do that because of my job. So there's definitely, you know, my business has really been affected by coronavirus, but there are definitely positives, and it's really important that we see those positives. You know, I've got more time with my family. I get to sit down and have my dinner with my wife and kids now, rather than running in halfway through and saying, sorry, I'm late, I was stuck in traffic. So yeah, lots of challenges this year for everybody in the world of work. But again, there's all sorts of positives. I've got a question here from Liam P7 in Port Gordon. Gavin, what was your first job? So I grew up in a tiny little town on the west coast of Scotland called Troon. Now, I don't know if any of our panelists that have joined me today have ever been to Troon, but Troon is about 30 minutes west of Glasgow. It's right by the beach. And right down at the beach, there used to be what we called the shows. So just like 4 fairground rides. And you couldn't even call them that. They were so tiny. Like they were tiny wee fairground rides, but there was 4. And then a van that sold candy floss. And I think I must have been 14. I don't even know if that was allowed, but I was 14 when I started working there, and I got paid £1 an hour. And it was £1 an hour, and I would do 6 or 7 hours every day, all summer, and just pushing a lever, make the planes go round, pull the lever, make them come down, get everyone off, and eat candy floss. So that was my first ever job. Lauren, what was your first ever job?
I used to wash dishes in a local cafe for £2 an hour every Saturday.
Do you know, that was my next job. My second job was washing dishes at the Ard Neil Hotel in Troon. Doesn't even exist anymore. And yeah, I think I was £2 an hour as well. I felt like I'd made it at that point. Craig, first ever job?
First ever job for me was a carpet fitter. I was a carpet fitter for 6 years. So total change when I joined the RAF.
I was just going to say, that's a massive shift, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge change.
And do you miss carpet fitting, Craig?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay. Jackie, first ever job.
My first ever job was as a paper girl, and I had to get up at 6 o'clock every morning and go and deliver papers. Magic.
Do you know, I've never had a paper round. My brother had a paper round. Everyone I knew had a paper round, but I decided it wasn't a route I was ever going to go, so it was the shows for me. John,
Hard work.
John, first ever job.
Like Jackie, I had a paper round over a summer, but then I think my first summer job was actually in a pet shop,
Nice.
looking after goats and gerbils and stuff like that.
I'm jealous. I'd love a job in a pet shop. Absolutely brilliant. Actually, quick, really interesting question for you, Jackie, just popped in from Mrs. Chambers. Jackie, does Moray College teach computer coding and game design, or would you have to go to university for that?
No, we absolutely teach computer coding and game design. Because actually Moray College is Moray College UHI, so it's part of the University of the Highlands and Islands. So you can actually go to university without leaving Moray.
Magic. See, I wonder if everybody watching this knew that, because I think sometimes people think when you leave high school and you go off to uni that you have to move away, far. And I mean, you can do that, of course, but it's great to know that you've got that on your doorstep up there. Listen, we need to watch our time. Unfortunately, we have got to the end of our time. So I'm going to just have a quick look and see if there's one more question. Just quick, there's a great question has appeared that I'm just going to quickly ask all of you. Well, actually, there's one here for me. Is can we see your cats? No, you can't see my cats. They're downstairs currently, and I'm tucked away upstairs, and I ain't taking this camera through my house. My wife wouldn't let me. So the question for all of you, it's an interesting one. What's the worst job you've ever had? Let's start with Lauren. The worst job you've ever had?
This one's easy for me. I used to work in telesales. So I used to call people when they were having their tea at night and ask them if they wanted double glazing. And 100% of the time people said no.
Yeah. Do you know, I did a telesales job for kitchens and bathrooms during my time at university up in Aberdeen. And you just got this, it wasn't the way it is now where it dials it all for you. You got this big book of names and you just had to sit and phone and phone and phone. And do you know, I once phoned a man called Mr. Treble Goose. And it was his actual name, Mr. Treble Goose. I'll never forget that. Craig, the worst job you've ever had?
That's a very tough one. So I've only had two jobs. I've had the carpet fitting job, and I've had this job. So I'd have to say the carpet fitting one wasn't as good as the one I'm in now. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, John?
That's a tough one. I didn't really. I worked in a cinema part time when I was at university, but I didn't really enjoy it. It was more late night weekends. Sometimes the show wouldn't finish till 3 a.m. on a Saturday. Sunday morning, and it just didn't suit me. Yeah,
no, that's a late one. And Jackie, worst job ever?
Worst job ever was when I worked in the cafe in Woolies in Princes Street in Edinburgh.
Woolies. I don't know if any of the boys and girls listening will know what Woolworths is. Where else in life could you buy plimsolls, a basin, a pick and mix, and the top 10 CDs? Right. I'm going to let all the teachers explain what CDs are. I mean, let's go with cassettes. Let's go with cassettes as well. Listen, folks, we knew this was going to fly in. We knew we wouldn't get through every single question. We've tried to get through loads. A huge big thank you to Lauren, Craig, Jackie, and John. Round of applause for the four of you. Thank you very much. I'm going to let the four of you disappear. Amy, who's behind the scenes, will take you off the screen. And I would just like to say a massive thank you to every single school who has tuned in today and on Tuesday, of course, to be a part of these sessions. I'm so sorry if we didn't get to ask your question, but there was millions coming in. We could have probably filled about 2 or 3 hours with the questions that were coming in, but there's loads for you to think about now. It doesn't matter if you're primary 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, or a teacher, or a classroom assistant. Loads for you to think about. You know, different journeys that we've all been on. We've all had jobs that we've loved. We've all had jobs that we found quite hard. We've all had jobs that paid all right, some that paid rubbish, some that paid a bit better. We've all met lovely people. We've met some frustrating people on our journeys, but the reality is that's life. But remember, there is no wrong path. When you're older, you can make your mind up and then change your mind as often as you want. You can go into one industry and end up in another. But the idea is that you work hard, you keep having fun, and you keep learning all the time. So one wee thing for you to think about before we finish up properly, okay? I want you all to imagine that there were 10 birds sitting on a washing line, okay? So 10 birds sitting on a washing line, and 5 decided to fly away, okay? So 10 birds sitting in a washing line, 5 decide to fly away. My question is, how many are left? Now, I know that some of you have just done a quick sum in your head. 10 minus 5 equals 5. Some of you won't shout it out, though, because you've already sussed. I'm going to tell you it's not 5. So 10 birds sitting in a washing line, 5 decide to fly away. How many are left? The answer, 10. And do you know what? They're all still sitting on the washing line. But do you know why? Have a think about it. There's 10, and they're all still sitting on the washing line. Why? Because they only decided they were going to fly away. My point is, how many times in life do we decide we're going to try something new? Do we decide we're going to work a wee bit harder? Do we decide we're going to be even kinder today? Do we decide we're going to do even better with our homework? But we don't, because, well, we've always done it this way, or we couldn't be bothered, or we were tired. You know, how many times have you decided you're going to tidy your room really, really well and surprise your parents or your grandparents, but you didn't because you wanted to play the Switch? So I've been thinking about this. 10 birds sitting in a washing line, 5 decide to fly away. How many are left? The answer's 10. But actually, I think it needs to be 9. Am I confusing you yet? Good. Why 9? Because there's always one. Not only is there always one, but there needs to be one. In other words, if there's not one of those ones, then who's inspiring the world? Who makes us laugh? Who lights the way? Who leads us? Who excites us? Who lifts us? Who teaches us? And that's what the world needs right now. Lots more of those ones. And I've got a feeling there's hundreds of you out there across the primaries of Moray Council. You've got this wonderful thing in here called your brain. You've got an even better thing called your mindset. And I have always lived my life by the idea that you are what you think and that thoughts become things. There's been some great advice from all our panels today about communication, about listening, about working hard, about being kind, about following your dreams and just going for it. So hopefully you've all enjoyed the 2 sessions, or one if you've only been a part of one of them. I just want to say another big thank you to all of our guests today. We had Jackie, we had John, we had Craig, and we had Lauren. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone behind the scenes, Amy and Sarah and the rest of you at DYW Moray. My name is Gavin Oates. We're going to say farewell to you all, and we will see you all again another time. And do you know what? Have the best Christmas ever. Enjoy.